guys, welcome to Stacking the Shelves for the week preceding, I always forget the date, it's the 21st of the week preceding November 21st. Again, I know I've been doing actually multiple Stacking the Shelves posts in a row, but I have been getting a lot of books, and this haul is mostly books I have borrowed either from the library or Kindle Unlimited, but there are a couple I bought. So I'll go through the two that I bought first. The first one I bought is A Dead Djinn in Cairo by P. Jelly Clark. I probably said that awful. The reason I ended up getting this, and it was like 99 cents for Kindle, is that I was looking for some interesting novellas to read because I mentioned that my attention span hasn't been the best, so I've been really enjoying novellas lately. And one that I saw a lot online that's supposed to be very good is The Haunting of Tram 50, 51, something like that, or 15. It had a 1 and a 5 in it. And when I looked at that book, I found out it is part of kind of a novella series. And the first book in that novella series is A Dead Djinn in Cairo. So I went ahead and got this. It is supposed to be kind of an alternate history, like steampunk mystery type of thing. So really looking forward to reading that. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. And it does sound like there's a third book, a third novella planned for this series that's supposed to come out fairly soon. All right, the second book I bought is Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Again, I've been trying to catch up on some of Armentrout's series. This is her newest series. It's a Blood and Ash. So Blood and Ash was the first book. I just finished reading it. I really, really loved it. This book released, I believe, in September, and so I'm excited to continue the series. It sounds like it's going to be a trilogy, so I think there's one more book in it. I'm not completely sure on that, but this is an epic fantasy that it is pretty heavy on the romance as well. And it's kind of about a kingdom where all the cities are walled in because of these crazy, zombie vampire-esque monsters that hunt for people outside, and that's a very simplified explanation of this because it is epic fantasy, but really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the first book. Lots of action, lots of excitement, some really good romance, amazing characters. So very excited to read the second book in that series. I would definitely recommend the series if you like epic fantasy with a lot of action and you don't mind romance in it. So those are the two books that I bought, and we'll go into the Kindle Unlimited books I borrowed. The first book I borrowed from Kindle Unlimited is Suddenly Psychic by Elizabeth Hunter. This is the first book in the Glimmer Lake series. And I'm going to be honest, I don't quite remember what this is about, but it's been on my list for a while. I think it's a woman like in her 30s and 40s who finds out she's psychic, and that's kind of all I know about it. But it's supposed to be very good, and it sounded like it would be kind of a different, intriguing read. So, yeah, I picked that one up. And the second one I borrowed through Kindle Unlimited is The Blushing Bounder by Malhan Brook. This is more of a short story than a novella. It's about 50 pages long, and it is part of the Iron Seas universe. So I'm going to be honest, I love the Iron Seas series so much, and I've been so disappointed that more books haven't been released in it. I've read every novella and book in that series except for this one. I think Iron Seas is an absolutely amazing world, and I just love the characters and the concepts and all that. Blushing Bounder is kind of just a side story, and what makes it interesting, it's about an American couple who comes over to London and is trying to acclimate to the whole being infected with nanobugs and the whole culture, crazy steampunk culture that's a bit more promiscuous than the American culture they came from. So I actually already read this. It was really good. It's just a nice short little visit to that world. It took me 20 minutes to read. So, but if you love the Iron Seas world, this is an older novella that probably everyone but me has read that I finally got around to reading. All right, then I got, in addition to those 4 books, I got another 5 books from the library. And the first one is The Elusive Elector by Gigi Pendian. This is the 3rd book in the Accidental Alchemist series. I've really been enjoying these. It features a woman who's an alchemist who's been alive for hundreds and hundreds of years, who has moved to Portland, Oregon to kind of start a new life. And she has a live-in roommate who is a gargoyle, who was a stone gargoyle who's been animated. And they've been working to try to figure out how to keep him from turning back to stone because the alchemical animation is wearing off. And this has been a very, I mean, it's very much investigative, urban fantasy, more of a mystery than like action. But it's very unique because there's a lot of history around alchemy included in this book. So you get to kind of see back to famous people that worked in alchemy, or even if they weren't primarily alchemists, that talks about it. Now, alchemy does really exist in this book, but a lot of the history that is presented is actually real history. It's just that, real magical alchemy doesn't exist. I don't know, maybe some people think it does still, but so I've really been enjoying some of the historical aspects to this as well. So it's been a very good read. All right. The second book I got from the library is by Becky Chambers, and it's To Be Taught If Fortunate. This is another novella that was released this year that people have really, really been loving, and it's a science fiction novella. That's all I really know about it. I thought it would be a fun read. I don't read a ton of sci-fi, but I do like to throw a book in there once in a while of that genre, so that should be fun. And third one I got from the library is another novella. It's The Deep by Rivers Solomon. This one I've heard a lot about, and I keep meaning to read it and just haven't. Honestly, I don't even fully know what it's about. I know it has something to do with like African mermaids that were enslaved, or like the African people that were slaves went into the ocean and became mermaids or something like that. And I apologize if I'm offending somebody with my description, but it sounds really neat. I mean, it's got mermaids. It's kind of about, human rights, and I think it will be a very good read. And it reminds me a little bit of the, I can't remember the name of the book, where the one person like keeps all the memories. It's super famous. Anyways, it sounds like the main mermaid that's telling the story keeps the memories in the past of her people. So she's kind of the memory people for the mermaid tribe. And like other people kind of remain ignorant of it. And I cannot believe I'm like absolutely blanking on what book that is. Oh, The Giver, I think. Yeah, by Lois Lowry. I'll have to make sure I check. But that's a similar thing where there's one person who keeps the memories for like the whole group of people, and the other people kind of get to live in blissful ignorance. So. All right, and then the last two books I got from the library were continuations of the East of West series. So Volume 4 and Volume 5. This is kind of a epic fantasy, apocalyptic Western graphic novel series. I've been really enjoying them. They are complicated. They jump between a lot of different plots, and there's a lot of characters, but they are well drawn, and it's pretty easy to follow who is who because the characters are very distinctive. And it's about the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Death's kind of trying to stop the end of the world, but he had a son who they think is the beast who's going to end the world. But meanwhile, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, the other three horsemen of the apocalypse, are kind of fighting against death to end the world. And so somehow the world's going to end or not. And it is an alternate world where the United States is not one place, but I think it's 7 different kingdoms. It's 6 or 7 different kingdoms that have split up and are fixing to go to war with each other. So it's been good. It is rated teen, so I am letting my 13-year-old son start to read these. I'm a little on the fence about that because some of the images are pretty gory and maybe a little bit questionable. But, he read the first one last night and he really liked it. So we'll go ahead and see how he feels about it. You got to branch out at some point, right? So that is what I got. 5 library books, 2 from Kindle Unlimited, and then another 2 that I bought. So 9 books this week. And a lot of those I will go through fairly quickly. The novellas and the graphic novels will not take me long to read, so I should be able to keep my to-be-read pile about even. Other than that, I don't know what to say. It's been kind of a weird couple weeks. I think I mentioned I had a lab mate that tested positive for COVID. I had to go in and get tested, and my test result came back negative, but my work did want me to reconfirm, so I was tested again earlier this week, and I should be getting that test result back today. Hopefully it is negative still. But then we just found out a couple hours ago that one of my son's hockey teammates tested positive for COVID, and my son had contact with him earlier this week at a hockey practice. Luckily, we actually decided with the governor of Minnesota has stopped youth sports or put them on pause for now, they're saying. So we did not have him go to the most recent practices because the rates in Minnesota are getting a little bit out of control at this point. So unfortunately, though, the day before we had him stop going to hockey, he did get exposure to a kid that tested positive for COVID. So we are going in to get tested again this weekend, and we'll hopefully have a positive result. It's kind of a bummer because I was actually just cleared to go back into my work and come off quarantine on Monday, but now I will be quarantining at home again until I don't even know if quarantining is a word. I'm quarantined at home again until we get negative test results back from my son's exposure. And at this point, I'm kind of planning that everybody is just going to stay home until we are vaccinated because it's getting really hard to manage. Like, oh my gosh, we got exposed, so we need to get tested. And then it takes like 2 or 3 days to get a test. And then it takes 3 or 4 days to get your results. And then it's like a week that you're kind of just waiting. It's been hard to manage, but I very strongly feel that at this point, the only thing I can really do to support the world in this pandemic is not spread the virus more. So we're taking our exposure when we have it very seriously. It gets a little bit tiring because I swear like one of the highlights of my week is just going to Target and buying groceries because it means I'm like going somewhere and doing something. And we're getting groceries delivered again right now because we don't feel like we should be going somewhere public like that and potentially exposing other people. So it's been a little bit tough to manage, but we are working through it. And so far, everybody's been healthy, no big deal. And the people I know who have had it have recovered fine. We did find out one of the hockey coaches that my husband coached with did pass away from COVID a couple weekends ago. So that was very, very sad. But the people we immediately know that have it, most of them have gotten it from their kids, either from sports or from their kids going to school. And Minnesota is on online learning only now, so there's no more of that going on. Anyways, I could talk about the weather. We got like warm again. So we got really cold and then we got back up into the 50s. Almost all the snow has melted and now we're supposed to get cold again and it's supposed to snow this weekend. So it's been kind of a very up and down like winter for us. And honestly, I'm having a little bit of trouble realizing that Thanksgiving is coming up soon because we're we're not planning on doing anything. We're going to be staying home now, and I don't like, we go out on Black Friday and have kind of a routine. We go out to like a brunch with my parents, and then we go out to the outlet mall and just walk around, like no serious shopping, but we just like walk around and then grab dinner with them, and then kind of sometimes go over and see some holiday lights or whatever and kind of celebrate the beginning of the Christmas season. But we will not be doing that. We're going to try to do a video call with my parents and my sister separately over Thanksgiving, and then I don't know what's going to happen for Christmas. It will really depend. I mean, if we are at home completely quarantined until Christmas, maybe we'll try to go over and meet my parents because they have been pretty serious about quarantining themselves as well, so they're not really going out anywhere. But aside from that, it's going to be a very weird holiday season. However, I think the end is in sight because I did just hear from one of my friends who has a sister who works at the Mayo Clinic that employees at the Mayo Clinic are scheduled to be vaccinated next week. So people are starting to be vaccinated, which is absolutely amazing. And if that's true, maybe we can all be vaccinated soon and people can stop getting this virus and we can maybe go out and do some normal things. Like I would love to go to a bookstore. I have been going and picking up books at the library, not since all the COVID stuff. Obviously, I did that like right after I got my negative test before we found out my son was exposed. But yeah, I'd be really excited to be able to go places and see people again. Me and everyone else, I'm sure. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving and that you are staying safe and healthy. And I will probably talk to you next week too, because I really don't have a whole lot going on except for reading and getting more books via whatever outlet I can. So I will talk to you later. Hope you had a great week of reading and that you get some great books. Bye.